Hello! Welcome to part 3 of what is now going to be a 4-part series because the last part turned out to be too long, so I split it into 2. This first bit of it is going to focus on visual expression and the next part is going to focus on social context. Both are going to focus on genderqueer people in general, not just trans people. So if you haven't seen the first 2 parts of this series yet, they will be linked down in the description below, so please stop this video, go watch those, come back here, then continue watching this one. Cool. Okay. Disclaimers. Everybody's favorite part of this, definitely. Today we'll mostly talk about pre-med and non-med people, as we are including gender non-conforming people, and for trans people it varies greatly based on their circumstances, whether they'll still use this stuff post-med. Think about the motivations behind patterns and whether they apply to your character's situation and how they might change throughout their journey. There isn't really language to talk about most of this stuff, so please forgive any clumsy phrasings and possible omissions in my attempt to do so anyway. I know how personal representation can be, and I don't want y'all mistaking the kind of purpose of the series. This is not representation. This is an educational tool to enable allies to make more representation. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're a genderqueer person yourself watching this, first of all, sit back and relax, because you're just watching this for funsies or to be an ally to other kinds of genderqueer people anyway. If any of this varies from your experience, hey, that's okay. If it's not you, it may be someone you know. This isn't about getting allies on the same level of intricate and authentic rep that an actual genderqueer person can make. This is about getting the cis beyond shit like this, or this, or this. The bar is low, and we're trying to raise it. Talking of a low bar, here's some basic vocab I'll be using that the cis and baby queers among you might not be super familiar with, so feel free to pause the video here and study up before we start. If you're one of my trans friends watching this and you think you see yourself in one of the drawings, no you don't, shut up. Finally, a reminder before you comment that the good faith system is still in place for safeguarding purposes, so be nice, everybody. I'm watching you. So let's get actually started, shall we? Most genderqueer people figure out there's some kind of gender weird from a very early age. The question is what kind? Usually a transition isn't an abrupt change from one extreme to the other, it's a process of figuring out what you need to feel comfortable. The main difference between gender non-conforming people and trans people is the amount of dysphoria to be relieved. Most genderqueer people go through an expressive transition. That's a working title, we're working on it. But for trans people, this is only a stepping stone before moving on to their social and, where applicable, medical transition. Trans people's looks focus on realism and low effort, as they're meant as everyday wear. Drag is for performances at events, it's art, so its looks can be more stylized and high effort. Trans people's gender remains the same, even when dressing down. Meanwhile, regardless of what gender a drag performer is under their persona, they generally have 2 modes, one in and one out of drag. There are also plenty of women and/or AFAB people who are drag queens, and drag kings are also a thing. Also plenty of trans people do drag, as was the case historically as well. Notably, a lot of drag kings are transmasculine people. Both trans people and drag performers, including cross-players, use special shapewear and other techniques to non-permanently change their gendered body shape. To reduce chest size and alter its shape, people use a technique called binding. You're not supposed to bind your chest for longer than like 6 hours. Don't sleep in your binder, don't use improper means to bind. Bandages may damage your ribs because they're made to constrict around like swelling wounds and stuff to stop the bleeding or something. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. So if you bind with them, when you breathe, they'll get tighter until they eventually may break your bones. Also no duct tape, that's gonna irritate and damage your skin. There is proper binding tape. It's usually used by drag kings and crossplayers for open shirt or topless looks, where you wouldn't be able to hide a binder, but most people bind with a proper binder. The titties are pushed up and to the side towards the armpits. Smaller cup sizes can get away with using a compressing sports bra and basically get the same effect with less discomfort. Binders are made from elastic material except for a panel at the front, which is non-stretch fabric to keep the flat shape. For fake titties, you use padding. There are different kinds of pads, some are fabric, some are silicone, some even have nipples for aesthetic reasons, I guess. You put them in a regular bra, but as they're not attached to the body, they may move around, lean forward weirdly, or even fall out. Some people try and glue them on to prevent this. Notably, fabric pads weigh less than meat titties would, so they may sit a bit weird and overly, like, perky. Pads may also sit a bit further apart than usual on a wider chest because even if the cup size is the same, the proportions are different. Finally, something I've mostly seen in drag is trying to make a décolleté out of nothing by squishing together what little meat there is and contouring it with makeup even, but then not managing to match the proportional size needed to realistically have that much push-up going on. Upper padding is commonly used in drag and crossplay to create a nice silhouette. Petticoats, I don't have a drawing for this, this bit, that's a petticoat. Petticoats can also be used to help to give the illusion of there potentially being hips under there. Packers are what's used to create a fake bulge. You can use a pair of socks or get a proper silicone fake dick. They are literally dick shaped, which is why I blurred that. Just Google it. Just Google packer. Silicone packers can be multi-purpose, combining the visual bulge making and the uses as either an STP, a stand-to-pee device, and or a strap-on dildo. They're usually held by a harness and or underwear. To get rid of a bulge, people may employ a technique called tucking. I'm not an expert in this one for AFAB reasons, but from what my trans femme friends have told me, and I'm sure the AMABs in the audience will know what the fuck any of this means, you tuck the balls up, and I quote, where they came from, push the dick back, and secure it in place, usually with firm underwear. Once again, tape bad, don't do it. Fake facial hair is usually achieved via using mascara or cutting some hair and gluing it on to create stubble, a sponged on beard shadow, or a straight up fake beard. I maintain that the sponged on version looks like garbage like 80% of the time, but I am a mascara truther, so I might be biased. Mask makeup might be in combination with a clean shaven look or including and even emphasizing facial hair. Notably, trans masks insist on the latter. Some non-binaries and gender non-conforming men like to combine femme presentation with facial hair. Trans feminine people are usually experts at hair removal. They often suffer from razor burn due to excessive shaving, and most of them wax their forearms. Some drag queens shave off their eyebrows and draw them on instead because that's easier than having to glue them down every time they perform. Some trans people use fringes to cover up undesirable hairlines. There's a variety of hair lengths to be found among genderqueer people for a variety of reasons. Some people are growing out their hair or afraid to cut it off all in one go and might go through a bunch of these as phases. Some people have the hair length associated with the opposite assigned gender. Some people like living in that middle length. Some, notably gender-conforming cis people, combine gender-conforming hair lengths with otherwise gender-non-conforming expression. Some people wear wigs. For trans people, it's once again about realism and being able to vary one's look, while drag wigs are usually more about the wow factor. Short wigs exist too. Lots of genderqueer people have crazy haircuts and dyed hair, and they often rock piercings, tattoos, and other body mods. For some people, however, subconsciously, this is to regain a sense of bodily authority with less red tape. Like, the doctor can refuse to give you hormones, but they sure can't stop you from dyeing your hair or shaving your head. AMABs often get their ears pierced as part of their expressive transition because they didn't get them done as kids like most AFABs did. Oh yes, the gender roles we push on our children. I was 4 when I got earrings, so... Mainstream fashion is made with gender-conforming cis people in mind, which means it won't fit quite right when put on a different body type. Men's shirts often struggle to close over AFAB hips or contain titties, skirts may slide down slender AMAB hips, and women's tops tend to stretch a bit funny over wide, flat chests. Dysphoria makes you do weird things, like panic buy stuff a few sizes too big to clumsily hide your ill-fitted body. And I'm not talking oversized in the oversized but not really fashion sense. These are just an actual mess that doesn't fit. This is Mordred from Fate Apocrypha. He is what we call an example of bad trans rep. Why, you may ask? No pre-T, pre-top trans mask dresses like this. Not even the most femme non-binary ones I know, myself included. And I'm not talking trans men who sometimes wear nail polish or some lipstick but otherwise still conform to regular butch masculinity, or non-binaries who are femme by virtue of not having been out for very long. I know plenty of those. I'm talking femme trans mask, as in ones that dress so femme they get misgendered as cis women without hesitation on a regular basis, and still dress like that even after having been out for many, many years. Those are rare, and the vast majority is non-binary. For most trans masks, the dysphoria lives in the squishy bits, meaning you wouldn't have your titties and thighs out like this. You might still wear a crop top and even a femme-cut bottom piece, but you'd bind underneath and wear something that has more coverage. I literally wear skirts to hide the parts of my legs that I hate and relieve my hip dysphoria. That's literally one of the reasons I wear skirts. That like, it has a purpose. That is trans related. Besides looking pretty, obviously. I love looking pretty. Shapes, right, shapes. At the beginning of their transition, most genderqueer people don't have a lot of gender affirming clothes in their wardrobe yet, so they'll wear their few favorites, absolutely to death. Androgynous expression isn't only about subversion. It's about the freedom to wear whatever you want rather than what society prescribes you should. It's also not about how representative one given outfit is of your overall expression, but rather a range of expression that varies from day to day. People often decide what to wear based on stuff like safety reasons, like you wouldn't wear the same outfit you wear to a party with your queer friends to a family gathering where you might not be out yet. In terms of gendering clothes, you have two main aspects. We'll call them the cut and the style. Mainstream fashion is made to emphasize cis people's body shapes, regardless of style. So you have things that were traditionally only associated with one gender but have been adapted to fit the other one by altering the cut. Suits were traditionally a men's style, but nowadays we have such a thing as a women's suit. Thank you, Coco Chanel queen. Yes. Mask cuts tend to be blocky and relatively plain, while femme cuts are often curvier and have fun detailing. Plenty of garments have been adapted in this way, but most are from traditional men's fashion to women's fashion rather than the other way around. As the latter would be relevant here though, let me fill you in on my observations about androgynous dress wearing, whether due to AMAP body shapes, dysphoric lack thereof, or butch sensibilities. The cuts usually have relatively straight lines, emphasis on the shoulders, slender skirts, and a lot of coverage. They may also include style elements of traditional men's fashions, such as sporty looks or suit wear. Colorful or organic patterns and detailing like lace or jewelry accents can be used as femme style elements. They might make a garment of the same cut read quite differently. You've probably heard of lesbian fashion in the cis sense, usually consisting of men's fashion worn on AFAB bodies. Trans lesbian fashion is also a thing, but a bit different. It still masks styles, but it usually adheres to femme cuts, because trans women, unlike their cis counterparts, also need to worry about passing. Here's a handy cheat sheet for who generally wears what combo of cut and style by body type. We often talk about androgyny like it's one specific thing, but actually it's like a complex system made up of many possible factors, because gender is stupid and also everywhere. So for now, let's focus on some common kinds of androgynous expression, and we'll number them because there is no words for things. We'll say category 1 is cis-passing expression. The body type is matched with the socially expected expression. Category 2 is technically pure androgynous expression. It combines aspects associated with both masc and femme expression regardless of body type. Category 3 is subversion. The androgyny is created not by the expression itself, but by the relation between the expression and its opposing body type. For some people, notably non-binaries, these may be phases in no particular order throughout their transition, usually culminating in a more stable and true to oneself expression once one is free as much as possible from the societal expectations and dysphoria previously holding one back. People very early in their expressive transition will take teeny tiny baby steps that don't read whatsoever yet, but feel very big to them, and they will be very excited about those because it's all new to them. Gender non-conforming trans people get misgendered a lot, so they may stay away from category 1 looks until they're further along in their transition. Usually the misgendering dysphoria outweighs the expressive dysphoria. For category 2, one way to make a look androgynous is to literally combine parts of both binaries. This is particularly useful in traditionally very gendered contexts like formal wear, uniforms, or traditional wear. Some clothes are so plain that they're gender neutral to begin with, like for example t-shirts and pants are generally seen as unisex garments these days. Another way to remove gendering from garments is to remove them from their original context. This could be the time period, age of the wearer, their gender, sex, sexuality, ethnicity, geographical region, or cultural context. Although, be mindful of cultural appropriation with the latter view. In a new context, there is no reference points to compare to, so it makes it harder to gender. Butch AFABs often assume you should be able to tell their gender very obviously from how they look, which is almost comedically omissive of their respective counterparts, who look the goddamn same as them, despite being a different gender. Category 3, am I right, guys? There is a difference between a queer butch masculinity and a more cishet-inspired masculinity. It is in the amount of care put into it. Butchness is often a more manicured kind of masculinity, if that makes sense. Femme AMAPs like to incorporate bits of femme fashion, like flowy pieces, jewelry, lace, cut-out details, corsetry, and so on and so forth. The trans femmes among them usually have more of a focus on coverage to hide any dysphoric bits. Gender-conforming men and some non-binaries, on the other hand, may be happy to show more skin. I think this should cover about everything. Next time we will be looking at the kind of more social context and character building. So stay tuned for the last part of the series. For reals this time, I swear. So yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye. I know how personal representation can be for some people, and for some people, for all of us. Aren't I cute today? Or just a nice 50s kind of shape. It's, you know, petticoats are great. Shut up. Oh my god. Catch breath. This dress is so fucking tight. Darn you, T, for making me wide and not fitting my dresses anymore. I'm gonna have to fucking let this shit out after freaking surgery. Well, hopefully surgery will solve it, because then there will be less stuff in here. Top surgery this summer. Finally. Anyway.